Hi, my name is Judith. I live in Barcelona. I'm from Barcelona, although I spent about 10 years in the US at the beginning of the 2000s, mainly in New York. I lived in Manhattan for 7.5 years. Did some dating there too. I was in my 20s then.
Hmm.
I'm 49. I'm going to turn 50 at the end of December this year. So
Happy almost birthday.
yeah, well, it was a scary number, but yes, 50. 50, it's a good age.
It's an exciting number. It's an exciting age. I mean, first of all, I'm so excited that you're here. There's so much I want to talk to you about. But I know when you reached out to me, you said that, being in your 40s, almost 50s, listening to the podcast, it's a good reminder that, modern dating is just a mess for everyone. And so I'm really excited to hear your perspective as somebody who is dating at the age of 49 of, what dating is like for you, what you wish you knew when you were dating in your 20s and 30s. And I mean, you have more experience, you have more perspective, you know who you are so much more than, me when I was single at 25. So I'm really excited to hear your story. Where should we begin?
Let's begin about 3 years ago, maybe, because I took a long break from dating for some health issues. And
Mhm.
about 3 years ago, I decided that yes, I wanted to meet somebody and I wanted to be part of a couple if possible. And what was the best way to do that? Join the exciting world of the dating apps.
Was this your first time getting on a dating app? Because that's also you dated before the apps and now you've dated with the apps.
Actually, I think I was probably a pioneer because when I lived in New York, Matt was already actually before living in New York, I lived in Seattle for a year. The way it
Cool.
was, I finished college, spent 1 year in Seattle, moved up to Spain for about a year and a half, and then I moved to New York. When I was in Seattle, I was just barely 21 and Match.com was already I don't know for how long had been in place, but
Mhm.
I do recall joining it. There were no pictures, so you couldn't see who you were talking to. And I did go on a few dates with guys that I met uh, through Match.com. And when I lived in Manhattan, same thing. I actually met with somebody who lived in Pennsylvania. We met in Manhattan, love at first sight, and then we dated for about 6 years. The
Wow.
three first years were super nice, really good relationship. The next 3 years were a roller coaster of emotions, toxic relationship, everything that could have happened to somebody who barely had any experience dating because he was really my first boyfriend happened then. But yes, so I think I was probably one of the first people who used dating apps back
I
in the
I think
day.
it's so cool that there weren't photos and you
Mm,
were matching with people and choosing to go on dates with people based on what they wrote.
exactly. And there were long email exchange because there was no smartphone back then either.
Yeah.
So imagine it was I remember with my first boyfriend, we used to write to each other daily long emails. We used to take them as conversations. We would break them apart. Like would say this, and then I would reply to that part, and then he would reply to this other part. So it was kind of a written conversation. It was so. Now I think about it, it's kind of romantic. It was like letters, but
Yeah.
on email, and it really. I think we communicated this way for maybe 3 weeks for a while. So obviously, when we met, um, we felt connected already. There was chemistry, there was the
Mhm.
spark, there was crazy chemistry actually. So if that hadn't happened, maybe it would have felt like a bit disappointment. But
Right.
since we both liked each other a lot when we met in person, uh, it all felt like we knew each other. like we had this great connection, and it was truly truly fantastic, to be honest.
Wow, I love that. I also yes, I agree that it's romantic. I mean, it's literally straight out of You've Got Mail, but I love that in order to communicate, you had to intentionally sit down at your computer, read their email, and think about your response. It's not like now everything we say is so like we're just like we're our brain is focused on five different things. We might be in a car or on the subway or in between calls and just like in the bathroom and writing whatever comes to our mind. We're not actually sitting down and thoughtfully thinking about what we want to tell this person and what
Mm-hmm,
we want to say about what they're telling us. So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think that's fascinating.
Yes, it
What
was really
was,
intentional, which I think is
yeah,
probably what's lacking now. It's
yeah,
more dumb scrolling through, I
right.
don't know, say like
Yeah.
doing TikTok or Instagram or.
So, what was it like getting on the apps 3 years ago?
Mhm. Um, it was a shock. I've used the apps when I moved back to Barcelona. I met somebody through a friend, and then we dated also for a few years. And after that relationship ended, I did use the apps, and then it was kind of there were pictures already. Then there were apps. Um, it was not as gonna say bad. I don't want to say bad. I wish I could find another word, but it wasn't as disposable as it is
Yeah,
right now.
that's a great word.
But it wasn't as strict at the beginning because you could see pictures and you could interact through chat and whatever. So I did that for a while and I got burnout, which I think it's everybody who uses dating apps, I think,
Yeah.
goes to that stage at some point or another. And then I decided, okay, I'm fine single. I'm kind of a loner actually, so why do I want to put myself through this and to endless dates, first dates, telling the same story, hearing the same stories? I'm fine. I'm just gonna be single forever, and that'll be it. And that also collided or coincided in time with some health issues, so I kind of put my focus into okay, I wanna heal myself, and dating is kind of on the back
Back
burner. I
burner.
don't care
Yeah.
about it. So
Did
then, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you like in your heart of hearts really feel like if I'm alone, single forever, like that's okay? Because I have so many conversations with people, especially as my audience grows up with me and we go from our 20s to our 30s, and our 30s to our 40s. I know people feel like that's the fear of not finding somebody, of being single and being independent forever. And so I know you said like you were kind of a loner and like you were okay with it, but like were you actually okay with it?
I was trying to convince myself. I
Mhm.
think I was fine, but I thought this is just so hard. I think it's going to be impossible to meet somebody, which I think about it now. I think how crazy you have to be. I was kind of in my mid 30s. It's like, why do I want to cut myself short and think that I cannot meet? I'm just in my mid 30s. Like, there's a lot of
Right.
life ahead of me. Why do I want to short circuit myself this way? So, but I think I felt so stressed out and hopeless. I had been on many dates. I had had like two long relationships that didn't work out. Several reasons. I had gone on many dates. I met many men. Many were interested in me. I'm I have a hard time falling for people. So I felt like, okay, I met some good men, but I don't like them enough to wanna commit to them. There are very few men that I like. So what are the odds that and sometimes the ones that I like don't like me back.
Of
So
course.
what are the odds of this happening? So I said, okay, look, people are on their own. You're born alone, you die alone.
Yeah.
So just be happy with your friends and your life as it is, and that's it. And for a while that was true, but then I think deep down I knew I was convincing myself of something that I was thinking like, okay, if I can have what I want, then I'm just gonna convince myself that I want something else.
Yeah.
And I really wanted partnership because I really value and enjoy sharing my life and being witness of somebody else's life and having somebody else who is witness of my life. Um, but I thought, okay, I don't think this is going to happen for me. So let's just work on you by yourself, not wanting what you want. But
Yeah.
of course, at some point, it's like that doesn't sustain anymore. And your
Right.
true desire comes through also through growing and getting older. It's like, okay, why am I denying myself of what I really want? Let's
Yeah.
just put
And
the energy on trying to figure out how to meet somebody and make it happen.
yeah. And I think that's okay. Like you're allowed to one day feel totally okay being on your own, and then the next day feel like, oh no, I actually really want a partner, and then a few weeks later you're allowed to say like, nope, this is really hard and stressful and frustrating, I'm probably not going to find that person, so let me go back to focusing on me. And then a week after that you're allowed to say, okay, I do want somebody. Like you're allowed to, like, we evolve, and we have
Mm-hmm.
different stages of our lives that make us want different things. I am curious, did you want kids?
Mm, I not really, and I think I'm gonna say lucky. That's not the right word, but sometimes I feel like, okay, if I had had a really strong maternal instinct, um, and I was almost 50 with no kids, it would have been probably harder. Of course, now you can freeze your eggs and that kind of thing, which is a technology that's developed more in the past few years. Um, but I know some women in their 30s, for instance, who really want to become mothers and don't find a suitable partner or somebody that they really like, and sometimes they do attach to someone who's not really the right fit just because they
Yeah.
want to satisfy that desire, and some of the times they're really stressed and miserable because they see time running out. And I think it's a really really hard position to be in, although I would say don't despair. Really, when you are 20 or 30, life seems so, like, your good years seem to be so few and so short. And there are women in their 20s thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to end up alone forever. It's like, oh, you're 22. What are you saying? And I'm sure there's somebody on their 70s who's now hearing me complain, not complain, but hearing me say, okay, well, I'm single at 50. And sometimes I think, okay, is this going to happen? And she might be thinking, are you crazy? I still want to find a partner. I had some relationships, like, you
Mhm.
still have time. So really, if you want to have kids and you're sure, have a, would say, plan B. If you can freeze your eggs or look into adoption, look into what possibilities are out there for you, but don't stress about it. It's not gonna
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, 100%. What was your kind of expectation versus reality of being single in your 40s? What were your fears surrounding it, or what did you think it was going to be like versus what it actually is like? Because again, going back to like my listeners in their 20s and 30s, like that, you lived through what they fear.
Mm-hmm.
As weird as that is to say.
No, no, that's absolutely true. I mean, I've been in all those stages as well, and I've been all those women too. And I think that when I joined the dating pool again in my 40s, I thought it was going to be similar to what I had experienced in my 30s. Uh, which was, I felt like I was the buyer and not the seller, if that makes sense. I felt like I had options and there were some better, some worse, but I did have plenty of options, and it was okay. Just it didn't pan out for different reasons. But then when I joined the dating market again in my 40s, I felt like the table had turned and I was the seller. And that was such a strange feeling. men in their, I think men of their mid 30s probably, and then 40s. Suddenly they also come more into their own, are more established, have certain status, and suddenly like a whole wall of women opens up to them. This is okay. Now I can date older, I can date younger. I have more to choose, especially probably men in their late 30s, early 40s, or even, no, I would say even mid 40s or late 40s. So suddenly it's just okay. I'm not competing, using competing as in more people or more women trying to meet somebody. So now I'm not just competing with women in my age, but I'm also now competing with women in their 30s who might be
Mm,
interested in this guy in his 40s that I'm also interested in. And as we know, like men usually tend to date younger, on
younger.
the age, or younger women tend to date older or around their age. So I felt like, wow, now there's like they they have so many options, and also I think it's the access to sex is so easy, which it's been like this for quite a while, but maybe before the apps it
Mhm.
wasn't as easy. You couldn't meet that many people at the same time. You couldn't have access
Right.
to as many women. So now I felt like, wow, it seems like they do have the upper hand. So that was kind of my biggest shock. Yeah, that I wasn't expecting, and I had to adjust to as well.
No, that makes sense, and that's not one that I would have thought of.
What were
On
you thinking about?
I I feel like there's gotta be something true about, like, you know yourself more, which is, I think, both a blessing and a curse because you know what you want more, but you also know who you are, and so you're not willing to put up with as much as you would put up with before. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword.
And that's completely true, and that's something that I realized later. But kind of my first shock was okay. So this this is different now, and then when it comes to how am I different when it comes to dating or how I approach dates, I think it took me a while also to just from that I'm on an audition mentality to this is a compatibility test kind of thing.
Mhm.
I think at first I was still, I think when I was dating my 20s and 30s, oftentimes I was there to see if, well, pick me. Even if I didn't like the guy, it's just, no, but I want him to like me. And I
I
don't
wanna
know
be
why. It's
wanted.
just this, yeah, exactly, this strange contest with yourself. Like, no, no, but why didn't you like me? Even when I didn't like you, but why? And now it was not like, okay, no, do I like you? So if I don't like you, I don't really care what happens. And if I like you, mm, let's see if also we what do we have in common and what do we share, instead of I'm trying to perform this role of, yes, I do like to, when maybe I didn't like football.
Right.
uh
Yeah.
that kind of thing, trying to be one of the guys. Like, no, I know myself better and I show up more authentically now than I did back then, that's for sure.
Totally. Do you feel like if you were to meet somebody, like let's say next week, you go on a date with somebody and it turns into a relationship and you're like, wow, like I really like this person. After spending so many years being independent, do you think like how do you think it would go of like kind of starting to like join lives with somebody else? Because I even my friends in their 30s are like saying like, yeah, like I've been independent for so long. I've like lived on my own. I've trained myself to do all the things that I thought I was going to have somebody to do with. And so now it feels so scary the thought of meeting somebody.
Hmm. Yes, and I completely relate to that. I What happens is I don't think I'm going to live with anybody unless I'm either going to marry that person with an engagement, a date, and it's like, okay, this is happening in 2 months, so I'm moving in, or I'm married already. So, and that doesn't mean that I cannot be with somebody that I was going to say I will never marry. Yeah, maybe that won't happen either. But um, I could date somebody for quite a while and neither of us moving into each other's spaces.
Mhm.
I think that, okay, if I'm going to turn my life upside down, kind of at this point in my life, you and I have to be committed fully and this is going to work out and both of us have to be happy. Or if there are doubts or not even doubts, or if you and I are okay living apart, maybe we'll stay living apart. I it's true that you get used to your own timings and your own routines, and it's nice to get home and not have to pick up socks, sorry. Because I know that socks are your thing.
That's yep, yep.
I
I've been trying. I've been really trying the last like week in the new place. I've been trying to not leave socks everywhere. I'm doing a better job, I think.
no, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
somebody. I mean,
Yes.
we all have some habits, or we're used to some things that sometimes you don't even see because you're so used to it that it doesn't bother you, but the other person notices it. Um, so
100%.
I that's something that I don't know. We're gonna be living apart for a while, for
Yeah.
sure.
I also think it's important, like, and this is something that one of my dating coaching clients, I had to remind her a few times was like, you're not going to like fall into a relationship with somebody. Like, you wouldn't like accidentally fall into moving in with somebody. You know, you it's only something you would do if you both decided you really wanted to do it. Same thing with, feeling too independent for a relationship. It's like, well, you're not going to accidentally get into a relationship. You would only get into a relationship with somebody if you felt like that person was better than your independence, than your alone time, And so I think that's important to understand and to
Mhm.
remember at any stage is like you have the ability to make choices and you get to choose what you want.
Yeah, and you're less willing to settle. It's not settling, but there are some boundaries that you have or some things that you are really sure that okay, this is, I just don't want to put up with this. So
Right.
if that's who you are, but something that you are not willing to change or that doesn't work for you, that's fine, no harm done. It's not gonna work for me. So
Yeah.
um we can split up and be okay with it, which is something that maybe when I was younger I was more willing to compromise. I'm not saying compromise on, I don't think you should compromise on your values, that kind of thing. I'm not saying like, okay, well, so you like to, I don't know, you get up earlier than I am, or I you like late nights and I like early mornings, and let's see, okay, but we both of us want to be together. Okay, let's try to find a way in which that
Right.
works for both of us. That's one thing. But another thing is like, okay, there are some things that I don't think you should compromise for in order to make the
Of course.
relationship work, and that's probably easier to do now that I'm older than when I was younger.
Yeah. You know your boundaries and you've had time to test them out and,
Mm-hmm.
reassure yourself that, like, yeah, these are the things that matter to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear about the people in your life, friends, family, colleagues, people you just happen to know. Are people asking you, why are you single? And if so, how has that question and your answer changed over time?
Yes, sometimes I hate when people ask that question on a date, and I usually say, well, why are you single?
Mhm.
It's like we are both single, so there are reasons. Sometimes it's just okay, well, and when my family doesn't really ask me that much about it. My parents, I think they kind of, I've always been very independent, and at some point they kind of got used to that idea. I thought like, oh well, I have a younger brother and he did get married, has a kid. I have a niece, so maybe that it's like, okay, well, at least one of our kids has had like kind of, we have one grandchild and whatever, and the other just, she's just doing her own thing, and they don't ask me much, and I don't share much with them either. Just unless it's something serious or somebody that I'm gonna introduce to them, just don't wanna bother them with first date stories. And my friends, also they know me, and something like, okay, it's just you're too picky, and maybe you shouldn't be that picky. And at the same time, it's like, no, no, but be picky, because at this point in life, you're gonna to commit to somebody. Like, don't don't stop being picky. But the reason why I'm single is because I'm looking for for connection and not for companionship. And I think a lot of people are okay with companionship, and I don't need company. I love my own company. What I want is a true partner, with all the good things and all the bad things that that implies, because nobody is perfect, and you do have to, well, make adjustments and compromise. But company is not enough for me to decide, okay, I'm just gonna be with this person just so I'm not alone. I need something more.
I love that answer.
Ah,
Connection, not just companionship.
yes.
I've never really heard anybody articulate it that way, and I think it makes so much sense, and yeah, it is what everybody should strive for, but when we feel rushed because of social norms or biological clocks or whatever it may be, um, yeah, we people do tend to say, "All right, like this person is good enough and like I like them enough and they like me enough, like let's just do this." And I think that's really beautiful that you don't want that, and you know that like you're good on your own, and you can tell people like, yeah, like if I meet somebody that I want to bring into my life, I will do that. And until then, I'm good. And I think that that's really like that just shows like your strength and how good you are with who you are.
I think that's also something that comes with age. So, to your listeners in your 20s and 30s, if you don't feel like this right now, that's okay. But um, really, there are many people who are gonna come into your life. I love that English saying that people come into your life for a reason, for a season, or forever. So
Mhm.
try to think of your dates and the people that you are in short, long relationships with as that. Maybe they're just there to teach you something about yourself, or uh, I think dating is a growth journey. In dating, I see dating now as a way to become a better woman and a better person, and not just a way to meet my future husband. And that has helped me a lot to get to that point in which I can say, okay, yes, I like you, but I don't think we could be a good match, and this could be like a satisfying enough relationship for me to want to partner up with you and feel okay with being by myself, instead of, oh my God, now I'm gonna be lonely forever or alone forever. I don't feel lonely when I'm alone, uh, even though I do want to share my life with somebody. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, there are so many things that happen, and so many great people that I've met, stories that I collected, even that it's just okay, just for the story. That it's good to keep that in mind, that it doesn't need to be forever to be meaningful.
Absolutely. Do you think there was a certain age or age range where you felt more comfortable with being on your own? Like, was there a point where you were like, "Oh, no, I need somebody," versus, "No, I'm good and I don't need somebody. I want somebody if it's the right somebody." Like, do you think there was a chapter in your life that helped you get to a better place with how you viewed yourself as single?
it's probably it's probably been in the past 3 years when I've really came to this full understanding through also my own personal work and some bad experiences that I've gone through. For instance, one of my, I think I had been on the apps for maybe 3 4 months. I met somebody whom the day that when I met him, I had 3 dates that week, and he was kind of the one that I was less hopeful for. Like, okay, I'm gonna meet him, but I don't think. And then we met, and this is something else for other women using dating apps and just kind of being too. Okay, the pictures. I have to really like his pictures. I have to really like. Uh, Sometimes men's pictures aren't as good as women's pictures. They take fewer pictures. They just
Totally.
uh, so if you think you might like him, but you think like, okay, he's okay, give him a chance. If you like what he's written, if you think he has some intention behind his profile, go out with him because you might find yourself very surprised. So he was one of these people, and then on the first date was nice. I usually have coffee dates. I just they're quicker. I rather spend 60, 90 minutes with somebody in person than chat forever or even spend the
Mhm.
same amount of time on chatting. So, okay, let's meet for a coffee. And then the second date, when he came into the restaurant, just felt, I'm just in so much trouble. I'm sorry. I'm in so much trouble. I really like this guy. So, and we started dating, and first he was very much into me, pursuing me, asking me out, and then suddenly when I started reciprocating more, he started pulling away. And then I made that mistake that a lot of women make, that I'm gonna lean in more, I'm gonna put in more effort,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna show him how great I am. uh, and of course that didn't work out. So but what happened was he went on a trip for a few days and I didn't hear from him, and that sent me on a super bad spiral of anxiety. It was so bad that I said, okay, I think I need help with I didn't contact him, or he has no clue. But myself, I couldn't sleep. It was awful. So I said, I need to ask for help. So I got in touch with a psychologist and with a therapist, and I started seeing her. And that started this whole journey of, I'm not looking at dating right. I'm just going on dates hoping to get a result. And I'm forgetting that just something else in life, that I cannot waste my life hoping for something to happen that might not happen. It's great if it happens, but if it doesn't happen, do I want to be miserable for however long I live? It doesn't make sense. I need to change my perspective. I need to reframe how am I dating and how I'm doing all this. So I think that's what really set me up on this journey of, this is this this can be fun. This doesn't need to
Mhm.
be this whole like suffering and this miserable experience in which I go on a date and it doesn't work out. And I think like, if I've gone on 100 dates and I've only liked two men, and I've looked at 5,000 pictures or 5,000 profiles, my odds are super low. I
Right.
started doing this crazy math in my head, with it. Like, that's why do I want to do that?
Well,
So,
I am so impressed that you had this like ping of anxiety and were like, this doesn't feel right. I don't like this. And I'm I'm not gonna just like exist with this terrible feeling. I'm gonna go do something about it. Because for so many of us, it takes going through that like 50 times before we're like, oh, maybe it shouldn't feel like this. Like, let me go get a therapist. Let me go talk to somebody and figure out why this is happening. And I love that your therapist helped you realize like, oh, it's you need the mindset shift of what are you doing this for? Because we also just put so much pressure on ourselves when we are searching for a husband, searching for a wife, searching for that life partner versus just the real goal with dating is to enjoy it, meet people, have experiences. And similarly to what we talked about before, where you don't just like fall into a relationship, it's like, well, if you do those things, if you're enjoying yourself and having experiences, and you meet somebody who you want to keep enjoying yourself and keep having experiences with, then you continue with that person. And then you decide if there's somebody you want in your life for however long. but it's not just like a go on a date, meet your life partner and call it a day. And I think I definitely got that wrong when I was dating too, because it just puts so much pressure on every single text, every single date, every minor meaningless interaction with anybody.
Hmm. Yeah, and I would say use dates also as a way to improve your skill set. Meaning, when I go on a date now, and sometimes you are meeting somebody who talks a lot, has a great conversation, and it's super easy. And sometimes you are in front of somebody who maybe just answers in short sentences, barely asks you anything. And my goal is I'm going to have fun. So, how can I make this okay? This man is shy or is nervous or really
Mhm.
is like this bored of a man. But I'm going to be here for 60, 90 minutes. This is not gonna be a boring date. So I'm gonna put it on me to turn this around and make it fun. And that makes me a better ah, it helps me be able to do the same thing in different situations that don't need to be dates. When you are networking, when you are meeting people, I can become a better conversationalist just by trying to talk to people who aren't that great and making that feel okay and make them feel relaxed and even interesting. So I I use it as a challenge of okay, I don't like him. I know this is not gonna go any further, but I'm gonna use this time together to get something out of it that's gonna make the experience better for him, for me, and also help me grow as a person and
Yeah.
as a woman. So I think that when you are able to do this kind of mindset shift, that okay, this is not just 60 minutes of my time wasting trying to listen to this guy who's so freaking boring. And
Totally.
I did just said to her, no, I'm gonna find something. This guy, everybody has something that's interesting. Everybody, especially at this age. Like, come on, 40, 50 years on this earth, things have happened to you, good things, bad things. You have stories, you have trips, you have experiences. Everybody has something interesting to tell you. So try to find that out. And I assure you it's going to be enough for 60, 90 minutes. Then you don't have to sit him again if you don't want to. But
Yeah.
yeah, it makes it much better. And then you when you're done you also feel better, and suddenly you have all these even knowledge of things that you never thought you would care about. That's like okay, that's also I'm not gonna start exploring this new area on my own because I already have my own interest, but wow, I'm so fascinated by what you just told me about. I don't know, I'm
Totally.
practicing.
There's always something to learn, and
Mhm,
I
mhm,
I love that that's your mindset because it means that no date, even if it's a bad date, no date is a waste of time.
mhm. Absolutely. And actually I think that the best dates are sometimes the bad, the worst as well. Like I think that for me the worst dates have been those in which the date was great. I felt like we had a connection. The man treated me a little bit like a mini love bombing, if you want to. That I really felt like wow, it's clear that you and I are gonna see each other again, and then they disappeared. We exchanged a few texts, and then sent like, but
Yeah.
wouldn't you doing this? Didn't you took me to this super expensive restaurant and spend I don't know how much money on the
Right,
meal?
all for what?
Exactly. And we were supposed to be there just for 2 hours, and it was an 8 hour date. And now,
Ugh,
so I think that those are the dates that leave me feeling more like that take me longer to recover.
yeah.
Also, although sorry, then what I usually do in those cases is okay, take it for what it is. You had a great time. You had a super interesting conversation. You were with an attractive man who treated you kindly, was generous. You enjoyed yourself. If that's all there is, look, it's great. I mean, it
Yeah.
would be fantastic if it was like maybe the man of my life, but if it isn't, what's there to complain about? I had an amazing time. So just stay with that feeling and release all your expectations or your future prospecting.
No, I'm obsessed with that. I think that is so the right way to approach it. It's really like upsetting to me that men in their 40s and 50s are still ghosting. I'm sure women are too, but like how, why? We know how to use words, but that is a story for another time. But I love that you're like, okay, I'm not going to let this ruin my mood. I'm not going to let this bring me down. Like, yeah, like take it for what it is. And you still had a great time. And you wouldn't have had that great time had you not
Hmm.
gone or had you not put
Exactly.
yourself out there.
Yes, that's correct. And yes, women I'm sorry, men in their 40s and 50s do ghost too.
Yeah.
So that doesn't, I think some things
That never changes.
never change. Yeah. In the end, it's up to the person. And I think
Yeah.
that unless you, ghosting is always the easy way out. And if you've never worked on yourself to, one, some people are better at this naturally, and it just, they don't feel right if I don't communicate and say, okay, listen, had a great time, but it just don't want to see you
Yeah.
again or whatever. But if you have a hard time with confrontation, that's something that you have to work on. And by this age, you should be able to have a hard conversation in a kind and graceful way, because most people are accepting. When somebody rejects me, I say, okay, thanks so much for telling me. I had a great time anyway, and best of luck. And when I've rejected somebody, usually the response is the same. There's nobody, I very rarely somebody is going to say, why about you? What it's not just, and I think just be kind to other people. Although I also, and this is something that I think when you're younger, it's hard to understand, but that's the truth. We usually, I think, especially women, we when something doesn't work out or somebody doesn't call us back, we think, okay, it's either because I'm not enough or I'm too much. I wasn't
Hmm.
pretty enough, smart enough, intelligent enough, or no, I was too loud, or I was too um, whatever, I'm too overweight, or whatever your insecurity is, because you're always going to tend to go towards your insecurity. And realities, I would say 90%, 99% of the cases has nothing to do with you.
Nothing
It's
at all.
like a man recently came back into my life, one of these men who I had a great date with. And when I asked him what happened, turns out that he had met somebody a few weeks prior, and then the connection with her was progressing, and then he met me, but he didn't want to date two people at the same time. She was in a different, so he just decided, okay, I'm just gonna uh bet for this woman who I've been getting to know for longer and see what happens. It didn't work out, but it had
Hmm.
nothing to do with me. What we shared on that date was true. The connection that I felt was true. He enjoyed himself, he wanted to treat me, he liked me. But it just then there was something else, somebody else that he wanted to pursue, because he had been getting to know her for a longer period of time, and he had to make a choice, and he
Yeah, and
chose me.
that doesn't mean that she was better than you or that she was more worthy of his love and attention than you. It just that's how the cookies crumbled.
It's a
Like that's just what
preference.
happened. Yeah.
You might like sushi and I might like French cuisine. It's Japanese better than French? No, it just,
No,
you like what you like
different.
and I like what I
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. And sometimes the reservations are available at the Japanese but not at the French. Like that's it just is. Like we try so hard to attach meaning to things that are out of our control so that we can understand it, but we do ourselves a disservice 9 out of 10 times when we do that because we're wrong. But um you wrote a book. I we need to talk about this book that you wrote.
Yes, thank you. I based on my experience and these past few years and my own journey on how to change my to frame dating differently, I thought that many women could benefit from my experience without having to go through it, or at least have a reminder that, okay, if you're feeling like this one, it's normal, it's common, but you don't need to feel like this. You can enjoy dating again, and one day you'll find somebody. I'm sure I'm gonna meet somebody. I'm 50 years old, and I'm positive I'm gonna be married one day. Might be at 52, might be at 59, I don't know, but I'm sure I'm gonna meet somebody. He's out there looking for me for sure. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna try to make the best of it. And that means also going on dates because it's a way of meeting men. So this book it's called There's Always the Breadsticks, NATO dating. I really like this concept of NATO, not attaching to an outcome, which I think it's what happens to most
Yeah.
of us. What we were saying before, uh, I wanna be married. I wanna have kids. So I need to meet a man if you're heterosexual, with whom to do that. So and for that I need to date. So I'm just dating, but I'm dating to meet somebody. And yes, that's the ultimate goal. But if you approach dating that way, it's just a hellhole for disappointment,
Yes.
burnout, and losing hope. And look, you cannot lose hope. You you're gonna be you. Being you is the best way to ensure you're gonna be happy. So try to live your dates and all the years that you're going to be single the best way as possible, and in a way that makes you fulfilled as well.
Mhm.
Dating is just
Yeah.
one part of life. You go to work, you have good days, you have bad days. You try to find a better career, you change jobs, you change careers, you have friends, some friendships stay, some friendships go. Same thing with dating, and you don't need to suffer through it. Just learn to detach, learn to use it as a tool to become better, not a
Yeah.
different person, you, but better. And that's kind of what the book is about, my journey with some of my personal anecdotes of some dates and how you can also, regardless of your age, um, have this kind of new perspective on dating.
I love that. I will have that linked in the show notes. I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
to read it. And thank you for being here and for sharing, your experiences and everything you've learned. I think you have such an incredible mindset around dating and you're so in touch with who you are and what you want, what you don't want. And I think that's something that we can all learn from, whether we're single or not. It's so important to really know ourselves and know what we will and won't put up with too. So I just so appreciate you being here. I feel like you may have just shared it, but my last question is what is the best piece of dating or relationship advice you've ever received or have to give?
And your final question. Um,
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's been said many times before, and it took me a while to realize too. But if you're confused, he's not that into you. Move on. If you're confused, don't spiral down the anxiety ladder. Just say, okay, he's just not that into me. If you need closure, give it to yourself. Send a message saying, hey, I really enjoyed meeting you, but I feel like you might not be into this as much as I am. So I just want to give you lack, and that's it. If you don't need to give yourself closure, you don't even need to send that kind of message, and just think, okay, there's something else better, there's somebody else better for me out there. He's not it. Don't try to demonstrate or convince him that he should pick you. No,
Yeah.
you're not to be picked. Just let that go. There are more people out there.
Couldn't have
That's
said
it.
it better. I love that. Thank you again so much for being here. Guys, definitely check out the book. It is linked in the show notes. And where can everybody find you?
Thanks so much. Yes. They can find me on Instagram. The handle is it.is.miranda.time. A bit of a long name, but you can find some dating advice in there. I share a lot of uh, mindset shifts that can help you with some of your dating problems. And I also wanted to thank you, Alana, so much for the interview. And also, I know that you've been in Barcelona before, but maybe
Yes.
come back again, which you should because it was a long time ago. please let me know. We'd love to show you around and show you a few good
Oh,
spots if you want
thank
to
you.
make it
I
true.
I haven't been in 10 years. No, no, I was there probably like 8 years ago too. But I turned 21 in Barcelona, with my parents and one of my friends and my brother, and it was so special just like walking in the streets at midnight with them while turning 21. I love Barcelona so much. It is the most beautiful city ever. So I hope to be back and I will let you know.